Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jen Marples Show. We've got a great interview today, queued up with the fabulous Denise Pines. And you might have heard her name mentioned before because she is actually one of the co-producers of the M Factor film. And as a sidebar, I'm just coming off of a fabulous weekend of events helping Tamsin Fidel promote her book, How to Menopause. I was on 2 panels with her. Actually, the second thing I was doing with her was moderating a conversation at the Book Passage in Corte Madera about her book, alongside the beautiful women, Joanna and Dr. Mindy Goldman at Joanna Strober and Mindy Goldman at MIDI Health. And of course, Joy Shepard from the Stronger Collective, along with her partners, Kim and Judy. And it was just a beautiful, wonderful day of women coming together and doing my most favorite thing, which is being in community with all of you and sharing information and hearing your stories and talking about empowerment and all the things that we can do to make ourselves stronger and, remind ourselves that we're not too fucking old to go for what we want and to pour into ourselves and avail ourselves of all the wonderful information and experts out there in the world, and also come together and really support each other because we're in community together. So Denise is one of us, and she is a leader in sort of the film world, she's a leader in the film world and midlife wellness and empowerment. She is the founder of the Big YNTFO event, which started in 2019, and that is happening April 12th in Los Angeles. And I will be a table speaker to that event. So I'm very excited to be involved. So if you're in the LA area, stay tuned for more information as you listen to the show. We've got a special discount code for you at the end of the show to get you 25% off if you are in the LA area or find yourself traveling to LA on April 12th. And I will be there. I'm very excited, as well as so many of the women that have been on the show will also be in attendance, like Julie from Menopause. But just to give Denise her proper introduction and her flowers, as it were, because she is a powerhouse. She is a true badass. She's a women's health advocate and age enthusiast who lives at the intersection of health, technology, and film. And she advocates for age empowerment and community health and stands at the forefront of midlife wellness for women. She's the co-founder and CEO of Tea Botanics and is the inspiration behind the Hot Flash Tea, which is amazing. And she founded, like I said, Wise Plus Wellness, a platform dedicated to pro-aging and health information. And she's also at the helm of the Femme Aging Project. And she provides women's health tech research and leads pitch companies connecting investors with groundbreaking innovations tailored to women aged 40 plus. So this is really amazing. She's really got her hand in a bunch of different things. She's also working to get some legislation passed in California. We're going to be talking about that. And she's also the current president of the Osteopathic Medical Board of California. And so she is really doing all the things. And she is a true leader and a true inspiration and a woman to watch and to learn from. And she really left no stone unturned. And while we talk about a lot of things today, she also offers her advice and wisdom on pivoting, because she did make a big pivot into midlife wellness, advocacy, and empowerment. So I know a lot of you listening need this information. I needed it as well. So stay tuned for a really incredible conversation, and also make sure to stay tuned through the end, because we have a discount code for the event, April 12th. In Los Angeles, Wise Pause, and I hope to see you all there. So I told you we were going to be taking some stuff on the road, and here we go. I'm going to be in LA, so I hope to see some of my LA peeps there. All right. Have a beautiful day, everyone, and have a wonderful time listening to this beautiful, empowering conversation with Denise. Denise, welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Happy to be here.
We have been like ships passing at so many of the same events, and we have so many of the same people in common. It's nice to actually sit down and have a quality, wonderful one-on-one conversation with you. It's funny. So Julie Gordon-White, who is a friend of this podcast and who is an early podcast guest, and she is one of my dear friends, I pinged her before her interview and I just said, if you could describe Denise, what would you say? And this is what she said, everyone, and I quote, Denise is a force. She has the capacity to do many things, all of them at the highest level and at the same time. She's an advocate, an entrepreneur, a leader, and a role model for women of all ages. And I just love that so much because definitely you are. And, we are going to get into all the amazing things that you're doing. And so many of you listening, I know you all have this big capacity, big dreams, big visions. And we all, if you listen to this show, you care about women and you care about your communities. You care about, the people inside your four walls. You care about the kind of future that we're leaving to our daughters and the women coming behind us. So, Denise Pines, we are going to get into all of that and how we can really make a difference, as well as she's going to give you all sorts of stories and little empowerment tips. So, if you are sitting on something, sitting on a dream, and ready to take or waiting to take action, rather, Denise is going to be our little cheerleader today to help us do all the things. So, Denise, I'm just so thrilled to have you here today. So I cannot wait to get into it with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Let's do this. So there are a lot of fun things coming up, but before we get into all the cool things that Denise is working on, I wanted to learn more about your pivot story, because you started your whole career in entertainment. And now you're this hugely loud voice and advocate for women's health, specifically women in midlife, going through menopause. You've got all these things that you're doing. We know that you are a co-producer for the M Factor. You are also, that's not the only documentary you've produced. You have events, you have a company, you have menopause products. You've written a bill that's hopefully going to get passed in California. What do you do in your spare time? But tell us how. Yeah, good.
I take vacations. And I take time off. But I usually, refer to myself as a Renaissance woman, right? So I don't see myself as like pegged to one thing. Like whatever it is that I think that I should be doing at this moment, at this given time, is what it is that I'm going to do. And it may look radically different from what it was that I did a year ago. So that's kind of how I sort of say I am. And as I've gotten into this stage of my life, I call myself an age enthusiast. And I see myself at the intersection of like health, technology, and film. And so on the health side, I advocate for, age empowerment, specifically, midlife women's wellness. And that journey began, the pivot moment, honestly, for that journey was when I got a hot flash. And after being shocked that I actually had a hot flash, because at first I thought I was having a heart attack, I was like, oh, these are hot flashes. I didn't think that was going to happen to me. And in that moment, I thought, why did I think that wasn't going to happen to me? Like, what happened along my health journey where it wasn't clear that these were kind of the things that could potentially happen to me? So the hot flash happened. Even though I'm very much in traditional medical arena in terms of what I do, how I deal with my personal life is I look to herbs and teas and other fruits and vegetables and things like that. So I wanted to solve this hot flash naturally. And so I partnered with my doctor. We co-founded Tea Botanics. And that led to the first, to a line of organic teas, which the first one was the hot flash tea to, sort of solve my immediate problem. And then we, looked at like doing brain fog tea and night sweat tea and anxiety tea. And then that, just doing that, obviously you're creating a product. So now you're out there and you're talking to all these women. So I started talking to women and I found they were kind of like me, like confused, felt isolated, felt like they didn't understand perimenopause, didn't understand what menopause was, felt like they were not getting the kind of information they needed from their doctors. And so that led me to, doing the Wise Pause Wellness and that platform around education. And then I read in 2019 an article about femtech and all of these solutions, right, for solving for pregnancy and solving for fertility and solving for periods, and like nothing for solving for women 40 plus. And so that led me to co-found the Fem Aging Project, where what we did there was created the first research around innovation in women 40 to 60. Nothing had been done around innovation in women of that age. And that, led us down the road of doing all these different kinds of events and conversations. And then I started meeting with investors to talk to them about what is viable in the marketplace so that they had data and research behind them. And then we started to say, like, well, let's help spur the innovation of this. And so we started doing pitch competitions. And we've given away about $250,000 in cash and prizes. And then then I have like obviously this experience of being in medical regulation. And I've been in medical regulation for 17 years. So I'm currently the president of the Osteopathic Medical Board. I'm past president of the Medical Board of California. And then I sit on the board executive of what we call the Federation of all the state medical boards. So this sort of puts me at the center of shaping healthcare policies and practices. So that's my health hat, my tech hat, my entertainment hat now is that I'm the co-founder of Women in the Room Productions. And we create documentaries and we also create animations. And so there's my three intersections: health, tech, film. And I think kind of like my aha moment came when actually I got into this age space personally, and then it let me, through a different lens, see how women were really treated when I got there, especially women, perimenopause women, the lack of research, right? The health issues across her lifespan that just don't get addressed. And that just really pushed me like crazy full throttle. And it was so weird. Like, I've been doing entertainment and especially like social justice type entertainment content. So looking at these issues, delving into these issues, but I guess I didn't connect and did a lot of stuff with women and girls, but I didn't yet connect at age yet, right? Sometimes things, hit you when you have arrived there, right? So lots of stuff that I've worked on in health space, like have nothing to do with me personally, nothing even maybe even do with my family. Just, I have curiosity around it. But this was that sort of, intersection where I'm at that age and I'm entering into the impact of my age and health, where before that there was not that connection. And that really was the pivot.
I love that when they say, what necessity is the mother of invention. And I also love what you said too about being Renaissance. And so having your hands in a bunch of different pies.
Yeah.
And that is a theme that pops up. There's a lot of women writing about that. We have friends at my friends at Optionality. So it's like living this sort of multi-passionate life, because also when we've talked about this on the show before, once we get to this age, we have a lot of skills, we have a lot of interests, and passions change. I'm a lot like you, where if I get really interested in things, I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds really, I make a lot of last minute decisions to do things because I'm just going to go with, where the wind blows sometimes. Yeah. But, I've got my overarching mission. But so many women listening are, entrepreneurs, or they're contemplating this entrepreneurial journey. And, it's not for the faint of heart. Let's just say that right now. So I'm curious. Go ahead. What?
I said hustle becomes your middle name.
Hustle. It's just never ending hustle. I was telling Denise, y'all, before we got on, that we just came off of I just came off of the Tamsin event on the weekend. If you've been around, I probably saw some of you there was the book passage event, something at the Battery, that I had to like block in my day in bed to recover, but I was still on my phone the entire day, reposting, chatting with people, like posting about the event. Like, it's just, nothing ever sleeps. But the beauty of it is if you're passionate about it, it helps, right? So if we're passionate, the work never ends. There is this hustle factor. But to give everyone, maybe a little bit of advice or even a little bit more of your background, like all the pieces that you're involved in, because you've got the documentary films, the M Factor is one of them. You've got like the tea company, you've got Wise Pause. Did you bring in investors? Did you bring in partners? Did you do all of this on your own? How did this all sort of transpire? And do you have any advice in that realm for women starting out who might need a partner to get started? Because I also think no one wants to ask for help, and we all think we can do it alone.
Yes. Yes, I have partners on everything that I do. So I know who I am and what I bring to the table. I'm very clear about that, and I've been clear about that for decades. So I know that I am, I love change. I know I can act fast. I know I have the gift to talk to people. I know I can shake money out of your pocket. I know that I'm highly creative and can create content really quickly. I know all those things about myself. But then there's other things where I don't like back end. I don't like dealing with financial stuff. So I also know what I like and what I don't like. So I always make sure that whatever I'm doing, that I have an expert as my partner in my endeavor. So with the tea business, the expert is my doctor. He's like world renowned in the space of what he does. He's a naturopath and he's also a scientist. And so he knew about this particular tea, the properties of this tea like a long time ago. It's like in a particular area of Taiwan and he's Taiwanese. So he is the expert. Creates all the formulas and tests with his patients and all that. And I carried the rest of it, making it a thing. So making sure you get a great partner. With my fem aging project work, the same thing. I partner with a guy, and he is an e-health expert, and he's just brilliant, and loves this space. He and I met like a total different way, and now we've been together on a journey for about 10 years. And then my film partner used to be the Western president of PBS. So again, another expert, has done tons of films, have worked with, you know, you name it. She's worked with him. She's about a decade older than I am. So very seasoned, but has energy like twice my energy. And so one, I would say definitely if you can find a partner or find partner freelancers, right? So they're like your partners who can do the things you're not good at. If you're not good at money, one, everybody needs an accountant and a bookkeeper. But if you know you're not even good at doing assessments and cash flows, like find, that freelance person who can come in and help you do that. It could be your bookkeeper, it could be your accountant. If you know you are shy, I always say that you are your best salesperson no matter what, no matter how shy you are, because you are always going to be more passionate than anybody else about your business. So if you think you're not a salesperson, you are a salesperson. We sell ourselves every day, whether you're selling something to your husband to get him to do something or your kids to get them to do something, or when you're advocating for them in whatever space they may be at their school, we are always selling. So if you just take some of those thoughts about how do you do that, timing, I'm going to wait till my husband is in a good mood, right? Different things like that. This is all how really sales work, and really take sales classes. Take a how to cold call class. Take how do I the way I think about stuff when it comes to sales, it's a numbers game. So I don't get personal about it, right? I just go, I know I have to make X amount of contacts in order to get to X amount of yeses. And so when you think about it like that, it helps to take the emotion out of it. Now, it doesn't mean that if I don't work with someone for a long time and thinking they're going to do something and then they don't do it, doesn't mean like I'm not like disappointed by that, but I move on. Like it doesn't end my day, it just goes like, okay, you're going to come on to something. You just wait, right? That's sort of my attitude. So definitely I would say, take that first step of one, self-assessing and really being honest. What are really my strengths? What am I really good at? And then looking at, is there someone in my network? They don't have to be in your network, but is there someone in my network that maybe I can talk to who might be a partner, who might know who could be a good partner? And then understanding what the partner parameters are, right? If you are going to do the bulk of it, it is not a 50-50 split. If they're bringing one particular expertise, that might be like a 20% co-founder kind of thing, right? So also understanding when you do create a partnership, what does that look like? And do that legal document with that person up front. I've seen a lot of four people come together on something and everybody starts working and doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, you're doing that. And someone starts like not doing their thing. And now the three people are like, how do we get rid of the fourth person? But what they didn't do at the beginning is define what everybody's roles were going to be and then assess those roles from the macro of the whole project. And that may not have been those 4 people all are 25%. Could be you were 10, you were 15, this person was like 45, right? So really understanding the co-founder partnership arrangements and agreements. And then just get started. You like do all your research. You have to do your research. I mean, when Dr. Pei, that's my partner for the tea botanics, when I first got the hot flashes, he had given me some tea. I logged my flashes to see like what the heck was even happening, how often. I was having hot flashes like every hour through the night. That is called severe hot flashes, right? You couldn't look at me and see because I didn't have the sweating from here to here. I had the sweating here, right? And so and it was just very frustrating to be disrupted every hour because it took a moment for me to collect myself and then get back to whatever it was that I was doing. So, I sort of monitored myself for about a week and then took the tea. And then by 10 days, boom, I was having maybe a hot flash a day. And I called him and said, "What the heck is this? We got to put this on the market. Let's talk about it. Let's get serious." And so we met. We agreed how much money we were going to put in. We agreed to the partnership arrangement. I was going to get more of the partnership because I was going to really he's a doctor. I'm going to be the one to really make this happen. But he is of value because I can't put the formulaic of what we have, together. And so we then went and researched. We went with all the experts. We went with manufacturers. We went with packagers. We tried to figure out, well, what's going to be our name? All of these sort of things, right? Then we put together, after we kind of got through that, we put then a business plan together and then a working business plan, right? And what we were going to do and how we were going to go out. And so those are like, everything is a step. Like do one step. What is that? Okay, do that. What's the next step? Do another one, do another one, do another one. If you look at the whole picture and go, I have this idea, I have this product that I want to create, and you let yourself go from here all the way to the end of the product, you're going to miss the steps to get there and you'll never get there. You just won't. It is just seemed too overwhelming. But if you take each step, right? If I looked at, like the end part, I probably wouldn't have done this team. I would have said, God, this is too much. Being in retail, like, oh my God, it's like gangster, right? I wouldn't have done it. But because I took it in its parts and in its steps and its natural evolution to getting to where I'm at, it allowed it to actually manifest. So
Wow.
I would say, take the first step.
We just got a little bit of I was like business coaching. We got some MBA advice here. That was amazing because I do know like so many women are entrepreneurs listening, like I said, and women thinking about doing different things. And this applies to anything. If you're writing a book, if you want to also become a speaker, if you want to, anything you're doing, you need the support, and you need the thought, and you need the planning. And I didn't think that this is where a little bit of this conversation was going today, y'all. So we just got like a nice little boost. We got a nice little boost from you. So it's making me think about a couple different things. So thank you for sharing all that. Specifically when you were, really going into the midlife menopause arena, because a lot of women experience a lot of fear. And we're going to get to a lot of other exciting questions, kind of not totally in this realm, but, regards to menopause and all the work you're doing in this world. But just because we've had that little mini business class for you, I just want to get your take on this. Women, they hear me talking about it. I used to own a PR firm. I do help women overcome fear and step into the spotlight to be seen. But it's really hard because women have a lot of fear. And I'm always like, just have the courage to do it. And I know you probably experienced that going into all these different realms of things you hadn't been in before. Like, what was that like for you? Like, just all of a sudden, I'm going to be this voice for women in midlife and this very vocal advocate. And we're going to talk a little bit about your advocacy work. Yeah. So what kind of kept you going, and what was the thing that gets you out of bed every morning and like allows you to do the thing you want to do without like, literally pulling the covers over your head and going, nobody wants to hear what I have to say? Or because, the more vocal you are, people know, the more people come at you. I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, it just happens. So tell us your number one sort of tips and tools and how you've overcome.
It's interesting that you asked this question. I actually have never been asked this question. Because people just assume like, I'm able to have these conversations. I've been a leader for so long. But those who have known me and sort of know my history in terms of entertainment, I've always been like the big puppeteer behind, right? I'm behind the big entertainment personality, making the entertainment personality look like a star, right? So whether that's, the kind of content we're going to produce with the entertainer, whatever. So I was always like this person behind, but I was also doing all the deals, right? Um, I didn't have any uncomfortability about meeting with people, being with people, sitting down, doing the deals. A lot of times, I was the final arbiter between me and the personality. And so you had to make me happy just like you had to make them happy, right? It wasn't until really the tea. And I remember I was telling a friend, like, oh my God, I'm going to do this TV show and it's live and I have 5 minutes. And I said, I've been in entertainment, so I know how to, I know what you got to do. I'm going to turn into the Denise on television personality and it's going to be amazing. Da, 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 da. But I actually had never done live television, right? I had done recorded television, which you can go and edit. This was not going to be that. This is you mess up, that is it. It's live, right? And so, I'm in my mind, I'm rehearsing what I'm going to say, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to say. They come over and they're going to do this. And then all of a sudden they say, oh, Denise, it's going to be like 20 minutes before you go on. So I happen to say, I can't rehearse anymore. I'm going to end up like flubbing because I'm overdone. And I just happened to call a friend and that friend said to me, Denise, this is your moment to come from behind. You now are a front person. You are now the personality. And I remember like, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. It hadn't quite sunk in until after, I did the television part. But I go on, I do the television show, and I'm with like 3 or 4 women, and we're having a great time, and they're all in. Like 2 of them were perimenopause, they were very early 40s, and were already having early symptoms, and they just kept asking me questions, and it was going so well that the producer goes, keep it going, right? I could see him going, keep it going, keep it going. And I'm like, oh my God, that's gold in like television when they say you got 2 more minutes, right? So boom, we do it. I come off, those ladies come over to me during a break and we're like, oh my God, you're amazing. Can I get your information? Can I call you? I got to tell you all these things that's going on. I'm like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I walk out of there and I'm not nervous. I wasn't nervous when I was sitting there. I wasn't nervous while I was talking. And I went, I got it. I'm good. I'm out front now. Right. I've transitioned mentally. I had shifted. Right. But it was just like someone who knew me to say, this is where you are right now. Right. And to not feel like I needed to have someone, by my side or another person coming out, instead of me being that person. So that really was it for me. All the other things I kind of already had about myself, but that was really like really being out front, really being able to say, you can do media, no problem. You can do it live, record it. It doesn't matter. You're fine. So I would say like that was it for me.
I'm glad you shared that because a lot, and I put myself in that camp too, having owned a PR firm, actually even being the spokesperson for big companies, but I still had sort of these big companies to hide behind.
Yes.
So it wasn't my thoughts, it was the company's thoughts. So there's safety in that. So there's one thing about being on camera, and I've trained a million people to do that, but and there is like a factor of, okay, I'm speaking to, the evening news in New York, and it's a little off-putting. There's all that. But it wasn't until I went out on my own, and this is what I talk to so many women about, that when it's you, it's your ideas, it's your products, it's your services, it's the things that you are passionate about. And then all of a sudden and you said it before, that you are the face, no matter what you do for work. And that's why I tell all the women I work with, it's like the more you are, the more the people are going to come to you, but you have to be out there And you've got to be talking. This is just the way this is the way the sort of the cookie crumbles now in business today. But you can do it and just like you had that transition place of like, okay, I'm the person in the front. I had my own. This was several years ago. Okay, girl, you're the one. You're the one. And it can be scary, but in the way, and I know you do this too, because you have something you want to say that's going to help people and you have products and services. I have what I offer and I'm very passionate about it. But if I don't get up to talk about it, if you don't, then we can't help anybody.
Can't help anybody.
We can't help anybody. So speaking about helping people, I want to transition into AB30 or AB360.
AB360, yes.
So that's a bill in California, y'all. So if you're not in California, there are still ways you can help. But Denise has authored legislation basically in summation that's going to help with menopause care. I mean, that's just the very basic version of it. But tell us a little bit about that, Denise, and how we can help.
So I wouldn't say that I was the author, because an author of a bill is really the legislative representative. So the legislative representative is Assembly Member Diane Pappin, here in the state of California, and her office and her listened to something that I had been talking about, which was the fact that physicians, women show up to physicians who don't know how to help them. And it's not to cast aspersion on doctors, but it's like, okay, how do we change that? What inside of our system do we need to say it is no longer okay for physicians in this modern day to not know how to help women during menopausal time when there are solutions, right? Regardless of your belief, right? So, and then I thought, how do we prove that doctors really don't know that there's a knowledge gap, right? Because until we can actually get that solved, we got to actually prove it. And there's no way. We just say, yeah, women show up and da 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 da. But doctors are like way up here. The rest of us are way down here. And so, most people don't believe that women show up and doctors don't know how to help them. Even doctors don't believe that they don't know how to help the women, right? Some are honest and some really are not honest about that. And so what this bill will do is it will require the Medical Board of California to assess through a survey doctors' understanding of both the physical and the mental aspects of menopause as part of their license renewal process. And this survey has been put together by the top OBGYNs in the country, endocrinologists, and internists. So those representing Harvard and research, Yale and research, Princeton and research, UCLA, Johns Hopkins. I mean, the top people who actually get the research dollars in this space in particular. So they have like what currently is done, what the latest protocols, and what even is coming down as new discoveries in this space. And so this survey is very, very comprehensive, and it will let us know how doctors are really making decisions around women's health at this stage, what in fact they actually do. And it's not going to link to any particular doctor because we're not taking the doctor's license when they do the survey. We're just knowing what geographical location they're in. So we'll be able to even understand, like in Southern California, do we find there's a bigger knowledge gap than, say, in the middle part of California or in the northern part of California? So I just think this is going to be really exciting because now, once we reveal what is needed, and we also asked doctors in the survey, what is it that they would like to get where would they like to get their information from? So that we can then make sure that when we come out with these educational programs, they're at where they go and get their information, as opposed to you saying, well, okay, we're going to have it over here in this guidelines with these organizations. Well, if that's not where they said they get their information, why are we doing that? Right. So we're trying to look at aligning to where they want to go to get information, where they trust to go in to get information, and where they're willing to go to get information to learn more. But we got a lot of work to do in terms of educating in this space. We still right now, today, are creating a pipeline of OBGYNs and endocrinologists and internists that are only taught maybe an hour about menopause. We are still currently teaching that way. Still. So we're still creating a pipeline of, like knowledge gaps. So hopefully this will kind of reverberate, and go back and reassess looking at program curriculum at the medical school level and looking at ways that we can change that as well.
Well, I love that. And it's really important because, women's health is obviously a topic near and dear. It's a topic near and dear to all of our hearts because, first of all, we're all women. And
Yes.
secondly, many of us have daughters and we don't, our mothers certainly didn't know anything about this and had zero support. And so, as much as we're doing everything collectively to try to change this narrative for people today, right now, we got to think about the girls and all the women coming behind us because the health piece is a big part of it. I mean, we don't have time to go into like pay disparity and all of this, but you had talked about before we got on too, just kind of certain things that are on the potential chopping block on the country as it relates to women and girls and rights and all of this. And we don't have time to get into all of that, but we wanted to talk about this today, so all of you listening, just because, it is top of mind. There is sort of an impending deadline. I'm going to link a way you can support the bill. There's a petition we can sign, right? Or send a letter. You have draft letters that we could.
Yeah, you can send a letter. You can come and testify. Just say, I'm Denise Pines, whatever your company name is, or, however you want to identify, and just saying that I support this bill. I support AB 360. It will make such a difference. We've got to show our power, right? We've got to show our power, which means we got to show up.
And you said it right there. We've got to show up and show our power. And a lot of you listening, and I talked to so many women, and Denise and I talked about this, that I know a lot of you, and myself included, the world can feel heavy. And we're quite frankly not supposed to actually know all the knowledge that we know. And to hear about every tragedy happening across the world and everything that's going on, it becomes a lot. And if you're an empath and a highly sensitive person, and if you're a mother, like we just all, there's so many things. So I know all of you feel like there's this weight of the world on your shoulders. And my solution to that, and Denise and I agree on this, is like, there's some little things that we can do that really move the needle. In my little corner of the world, it's women's empowerment, and I'm going to send my letter and show my support for AB 360. So, this is a way where we feel like, oh my God, the world for myriad reasons is going to hell in a handbasket. Here's something I can do for women and to support me, to support my fellow women, to support my daughters that are coming up in the world. So just be on the lookout for things like that, I guess, is my PSA. And so this, supporting this bill would be one way. Denise, and I know, we don't have time to talk about all the things, and I wish we could, but Denise, as you know, is a co-producer of the documentary, The M Factor. And so I saw Denise and Tamsin in the city for one of their city viewings. And everybody knows I've been involved in a couple of those and had been on some panels. And I just want to ask you, Denise, before we start talking about Wise Pause, the big event that's coming up in a few weeks, what were some of your big surprises? I know, and we don't even have to talk about all the wonderful things at the M Factors. We've talked about it here on the show. It's been this wonderful, powerful movie. My biggest takeaway was the fact that it brought so many women together. So I'm wondering what your biggest takeaway was of the movie and sort of your general sort of the reaction and feedback and how you felt about it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think just what you said is that the film became a movement. I mean, we did not see that coming. When you produce like documentaries, the measurement is how many people watched it on wherever it is, right? And of course, yeah, you do screenings and things like that. All my films have always had maybe around 300, 300 max, maybe 400 screenings. But this just like took off in a way that it no longer was ours, right? It just no longer was our film. It was their film, right? It was the women's film. And they used this to bring other women together, to come together to understand like what's happening to us and to bond in solidarity. Like I'm okay. But this isn't okay that we don't feel okay, right? I think the other thing was the global impact. That really we didn't see coming, right? So the film is very American, right? But the issue is universal. And so is the suffering, and so is the silence. There is no country that's got it right, even though the UK is much further along with that than we are in terms of um talking about this definitely in the workplace. They still have their struggles. They don't have enough physicians. They still have doctors who don't know how to help and treat women. Even though 46% of, um, I want to say, companies in the UK have some kind of menopause policy, still only 23% of women are taking HRT. So it also tells you that we've got to find other solutions for women, because even with all that high level knowledge in that country, women still are making decisions not to, sort of support themselves through drugs. So we got to figure out other ways to help them. So I think those were really the big things, right? The global impact, that it became a movement. Women are still screening this film. Um, I mean, we sometimes will have like 8 screenings in just a week. Um, uh, and they continue to go on. What I really love about this is that women did not regulate this issue to October, right? This is now, we're going to talk about this now. We're going to talk about it anytime, right? We're not holding off and waiting to some particular time, like, breast cancer awareness month, right? We don't care about menopause awareness month. We need to talk about this now. I'm suffering today. So that's another thing that I love that the women have done.
Oh, I love it. And it's funny that you made me think about something too, because as we're recording this on March 31st, and it's the end of Women's History Month and all that. And I think that got wiped off all the calendars or something, but we're all celebrating it anyway, because my dance card has been very full this month. There's been a lot of stuff going on. There was actually just a big M Factor screening here in the Bay Area in Palo Alto, the Hot Paws Health Gals. There's 200 women. 200 women showed up to so people are still showing up in droves. And coming off this event I was at with Tamsin and the women from Midi Health and the Stronger Collective on the weekend, I wanted to bring up this one point of like, well, and this is going to underscore why we collectively all have so much work to do, is that this one woman is like, literally in essence was saying, how long should I suffer
Oh my God.
before I seek out treatment? And we're like, you don't have to suffer at all mentally. Like, if it's finding friends and community, if it's seeing your doctor, if it's non-medical solutions. But I think, Denise, that's just been so ingrained that women just take on, we put ourselves last and suffer. And all of us are like, nobody has to suffer.
Right. I think really that's what it is that women feel that like they have to suffer. We feel like we suffer so much along our lifespan. And then all of a sudden, just when we get an array of hope, like, oh my gosh, my kids are, about to go to college, in these last stages, blah, 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 blah. Then bam, something happens to us, knocks us off. I'm fatigued. I'm sweaty. What's going on with my brain? Gosh, I used to like having sex with my husband. Right now, like, I'm looking at me at this moment, right? And all of a sudden, like, all of these things, start to happen, and it throws us off our game when we're at the point of making, pretty much the most money we've ever seen ourselves made. We are getting the kind of promotions that we have expected over the course of this time. And we are, well connected. And bam, this just thing comes out of nowhere and kind of knocks us down a notch and gets us to feel less there, right? And then we believe we're supposed to suffer through it. Because especially if you went to a doctor and the doctor said you were too young, or, hey, you know what? It's only going to be 5 years. You can get through it. This is the kind of stuff that really gets said on a regular basis to women. Or either they say, I don't believe in any of the hormone replacement protocols. Okay, well, what do you believe in? What do you have then if that's not what you believe? How are you going to help support me? So I just think that, I've never been a woman about suffering. I think I saw my mom suffer and make lots of compromises. And she, really was like, Denise, you can do anything you want to do. And she said that to me so early on, right? So early on. Do not let yourself be directed by anybody else's opinion. Listen to what's in your heart, listen to what's in your mind, right? Be mindful about how you go out into the world. And she was telling me this at 10 years old. And so I never had the mindset of suffering because she did not want me to have a mindset of suffering. And so I just felt like, if I thought it, I can do it. Right. If people would say, well, that's not really precedent here. I didn't care what precedent was. Right. Someone created that precedent. I'm creating a new precedent. Right.
Yeah, I think it goes all into the being the nice girl and not complaining and this and that. We don't have time to talk about all that. But I remember Joanna at MIDI had said something, and I don't have the exact numbers, but she looks at sort of, midlife women's healthcare as longevity care, and also it's equity and parity, because what you're saying is we're at our high earning years, we are thriving, it's, we got to work, we're living longer, and then to feel like you're going crazy or like you don't have support. I've got my own story, everyone has heard it on the show. um, that can have some devastating financial impacts for us. And I think she said something like 10% of women actually leave the workforce because of menopause symptoms. A very big percentage don't go after the promotions and the things you were talking about because all of a sudden they don't feel like themselves. And then there's it's another percentage of women who just it's just impacting like job performance and all of that. So I don't have the exact data, but I did remember the 10% of the women who will leave the workforce, and we can't be leaving the workforce, and we need to be in the workforce. And so, I mean, we could talk about that forever, but
there's even larger percentage of the people who you work with perception of what you can do when they think you're old.
Well, there's that whole thing to Denise, and oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. I was making fun of the old white guys at the thing, but then that's the truth, because they're doing it and they're fine, but somehow it's not okay for women. But I can't even go off on that right now because I know we have to wrap it up. But let's talk about YNTFO. Let's talk about the big event you've got coming up, because we've talked about a lot of great stuff. So here's a big solution. Here's a way to come together. Here's a way to get information, meet new people. I'm going to be there too. Caveat, woohoo. I'm going to be at YNTFO. It is April 12th in Los Angeles, Saturday, April 12th in Los Angeles. Denise has been having this event since 2019. So tell us about YNTFO this year and why everyone should run to get their ticket.
Oh, yeah. I started YNTFO for what we just said. It's just that when I realized how many women were suffering in silence and scouring the internet for answers to, brain fogs, the unwanted pounds, the hot flashes, I was like, I knew I was in a position. Again, we talked about something like offline about, do what it is you can where you're at. So I knew that at the time I was the vice president of the Medical Board of California, and I knew I had access to any doctor up and down this state. If I reached out to you, you're going to respond to me in a nanosecond. And so I knew I could bring like the best menopause specialists and experts and everything in between together. And so I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I want to do it in a space that really feels great. And so we do it at Skirball. It's all a glass building, in the mountains. So you just see the forestry. It's just like amazing experience. And then just connect women with each other so that you can go there by yourself and not feel like you're alone, because the sister next to you is experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing. Right. And so you can share and bond and talk about things that you just have not been able to talk to really anybody about in any great length, and to figure out like what is really happening, and to know that solution providers are right here in your backyard. So we don't fly anybody in. I have like really worked with our team to find the people in the backyard. You see that doctor on a stage, you can go to that doctor. They're going to be at least within, 25, maybe max 50 miles of driving that you can get to, so that you don't see like that great conversation, walk off the stage and go, God, I wish I could go to that person. You can go to that person. And so I've really been very intentional about, about doing that. We fly in a couple people, but really mostly everybody is from there. So we cover the whole journey, right? We have a whole conversation about brain fog and what happens to the brain and what you can do and understanding. We talk about sexual wellness from all aspects, right? Because sometimes our sexual wellness is around our our notion of sex as we grew up, and then all of a sudden we hit this moment in time where the intersection of those two things kind of come together, right? As well as the sort of physical aspects. We sleep. Oh my God, sleeplessness is so huge. It's always like when I do surveys, typically the number one thing, sleeplessness, that women are experiencing. So we talk about that. We talk for the first time, we're going to have a natural doctors panel. So these are two functional doctors that also have an ND. So they're an MD and ND, naturopath, right? Doctor. So they have studied, right, really the whole person, right? So they've studied nutrition, they've studied movement, they've studied alternative cognitive behavioral therapy or acupuncture, acupressure, meditation, things like that. So looking at the whole person is going to be the first time we're ever going to have a conversation like that. And usually I've never even seen, even in other, some of my other colleagues, when they do events, have like this kind of robust discussion. Um, and then, of course, we have, and we're also doing our first Wise Pause Awards. So we are going to be honoring Tamsin Fidel, who is our Gen X trailblazer, Holly Berry, who really, when you really think about what Holly did, initially I was sort of like, again, being in entertainment for as long as I've been in, I see celebrities put a toe in and you get really excited that they came onto an issue. Oh, my new film is coming out, and you can't even get them back to that issue. And she really has gone all in. Here this woman is one of the most beautiful women in the world, and she decided she's going to open up and tell a very uncomfortable story, right? And she didn't tell a story like, oh, I had hot flashes and night sweats. She told a story about being misdiagnosed with herpes, right? And she's gone all in. And then CVS Health for getting the first menopause-friendly corporate certification. Um, and then we'll be joined by our mental friends. You mentioned one earlier, Julie with Mental Well, and Rootless, who both have nutrition solutions. Hello Again, that has sexual wellness products. Hello, who has like this great cooling Betty fabric. So our exhibitors, the only way you can exhibit at Wise College is you have to have a solution for these women, or this is not the space for you to be. Women don't know there are products out there. We are not huge companies, right? We're not Fortune 500 companies where you're going to see this stuff all in CVS or Walgreens or wherever you go to shop for your wellness solutions. But places like this, you will be able to find. So bring your wallet. And then for your audience, we're offering a 25% discount on the ticket. And they just need to go to wisepause.com and use the code WPGen. So WPGen.
Well, thank you for that, because then that'll be in the show notes. And I will be attending. And so I'm doing one of these fun, there's maybe 25 of us doing table talks. So on all different types of topics. So of course I'll be talking about, that you're not too fucking old and midlife women's empowerment and all that, because hello, that's who I am. But so many different women talking about so many different aspects. So that's going to be during lunchtime, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're going to be talking about oral health and how to take care of your teeth during this time because we revealed that obviously in the film. And this is a chance where you can get more intimate with who you saw on the stage. A lot of those doctors are sitting at the tables as well. There's one sort of expert at each table, like you, Jen, will be at. And this is a chance just to have like an intimate conversation, right? To ask your more particular question and, get a little bit more comfortable even talking about what's happening and your issues. So I find that the table talks, are really hard to pull women back into the actual content of the event after we do the table talks.
But I'm glad you're doing that because I've done many events. People, y'all listening, have been to events, and women are they're dying for all of it. They're dying for the community. They're dying for all that information. I'm not going to say dying, craving. Let's just say, let's just not use dying. Let's use craving. They're craving community, craving connection, craving the information. And I know women will walk away with new relationships, and that's just win-win-win because it takes all of us to do this midlife together. Which brings me to one of my final questions for you, Denise,
Okay.
which is, what do you think the best thing is about being in midlife?
My mind is so much faster. I mean, it's just like I can solve things just so quick, right? Someone, if a young person comes to me and tell me about, some issue that they just think is just like huge, just like I've already got it solved, right? I'll let them still tell me what it is all the way until they finish. And then here's the complete answer. Here's how you go about doing it, this, that, and the other. I think that also that whatever I think like I could do, if I have the idea, I can do it because I have the relationships to get it done. I know how I can get it done even quicker and been back to that fast, like within a matter of weeks, right? Because I could connect to the right person. I don't have to have multiple thousands of introductions done. And I think the other thing is just I'm not fearful. And what I'm finding in this political climate is people are so fearful. And I'm like, why are you so fearful? Why are you so fearful? You can, people can only do things that you let them do to you. You give up your power is gone. Right. And so I'm just not, fearful. I never really have been. And I feel like now I'm on steroids with not being fearful.
I love
And
that.
so I also just really think aging is such a privilege. My mother didn't get the chance to live older. My one of my best friends didn't get a chance to live to experience menopause, right? And so I love the fact that I have so many friends that I have gone on a journey with, right? I have friends that go back 30, 35 years, right? And just the things that we've gone through, the pains, the wisdom, the fun, the self-discovery. I just, really relish in that. I was thinking this morning how right now, all my family is still alive. My aunts, my uncles, my brothers, their kids. That like right now is like, I just woke up going, God, I've got to call them all, right? Because they're still here. They're in their 90s and like they're still here. My dad's still here. And so I think just, recognizing, our moments where we, have a little bit of clarity and appreciating, that we've gotten to come into this journey because it's really not guaranteed that that we get to go, to whatever 120, if that's what our destination is.
Oh, I love that. And that's the fire up to go do the damn thing because, yeah, tomorrow's not promised. All right. So everybody completes this, the rallying cry of the show. So you're not too fucking old. So, Denise, you're not too fucking old, too.
Play and be silly.
Play and be silly. I love it.
Silly.
Ooh, I can't wait to play and be silly with you in a few weeks, 2 weeks at Wise Pause. That's going to be so exciting.
So exciting. So exciting.
So where can everybody find you, support you, find out more about the event, find out more about all the things that you're doing?
Yes. So easily going to my LinkedIn, it kind of has a lot of connections. So just Denise Pines, no middle name. Wisepause.com. For our teas, Tea Botanic, and that's TEA botanics.com. For the M Factor, if you one of those people who still haven't seen it, the mfactorfilm.com. Once a month we do a live screening, followed by some of the doctors that were in the film. So our next one I think is on the 14th of April, and we are talking about heart health.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I'm glad you guys do that. So we're going to link all of that in the show notes. Denise, it has been so amazing chatting with you today. I'm so fired up. We have so much work to do, ladies. But take care of yourself. Focus on the few things. Don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Come join us at Wise Pause.
Yes.
And let's do midlife together. And thanks for being here, Denise.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for, really supporting women in the work of women.
Thank you.